Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. Today we're going to continue with our lecture on MFRS 137, provisions, contingent liabilities and contingent assets. And our focus today is to discuss on contingent assets. In our previous two sessions, we have discussed the provision and contingent liabilities. Right. Okay, what is a contingent asset? So when we talk about asset, it's about talking about having some kind of inflow of economic benefits. But when we talk about contingent asset, that one is on having a possible asset, possible inflow of economic benefits, which arise from our past event. So meaning to say that instead of having outflow of economic benefits, like in the case of provision, yeah, if it's probable, or in the case of contingent liabilities, where we talk about outflow is not probable, yeah, for example. So now we are talking about inflow that is going to be in the case of possible asset arising from past event, where the existence of the assets will only be confirmed by the occurrence or non-occurrence of one or more uncertain future event. So you're not sure whether that will be an inflow of economic benefits because it is subject to occurrence or non-occurrence of another event. Let's say you sue your supplier for the faulty goods supplied by them. And let's say the lawyer is in the opinion that you have a chance of more than 50% that you would win the case. So you sue the supplier. So if you win the lawsuit, your supplier will need to pay you some consideration. So that will involve some inflow of economic benefits. However, that is subject to the decision made by the court pertaining to the legal suit that you made. So it's the other way around, where contingent liabilities is where you are the one that will involve outflow of economic benefits to settle the obligation. Now is that your other party is the one that will need to make payment, where you will have that inflow of economic benefits. And that possible asset is not within the control of us, the entity. So we don't have the control over the outcome, right? But possibly that would arise because of the past event. So let's look at the recognition criteria for intangible asset. Sorry, for our contingent asset, not intangible asset. I'm sorry. Contingent asset should not be recognized, meaning that it shouldn't be recorded in the financial statement. There shouldn't be any debit credit to the contingent asset. It is just like contingent liabilities, where we won't recognize, but now we are going to disclose in the notes to the accounts. Those disclose, no journal entry, but put them in notes to the account, notes to the financial statement. When we when the inflow of economic benefit is probable. So meaning to say that the chances that the outcome would happen is more likely than not. So if for a contingent asset, we are saying that it is going to be probable if the chances are more than 50%. So if the chances are more than 50%, that is considered probable. So contingent asset will need to be recognized. not recognized in the financial statement, but put them in the notes to the account, where the possible asset, the inflow, is probable. This is a summary of that inflow of economic benefit that is associated with contingent asset. If you look at the first diagram here, we will disclose the contingent asset in the notes to the account if the outcome or the occurrence or the likelihood is probable. Probable here means more likely than not, which is more than 50%. So if it's more than 50% chances that we will be able to have or receive the inflow of economic benefits, that is not an asset, but that is a contingent asset. And therefore, MFRS 137 require the company to make a disclosure notes, yeah, disclosure notes to the account. And you need to remember that this does not mean that you are going to record. You are not going to recognize. No recognition, just a notes to the account. However, if you are virtually certain is normally associated with having a probability of more than 95%. In certain jurisdiction, they say that that is 90%. However, the MFRS IAS 37 or MFRS 137 does not state specifically what is meant by virtually certain. But it is acceptable if it is more than 95%. So once you are virtually certain, that is not a contingent asset, and that must be recorded as an asset. Let's say that was a compensation that you will be earning. So if that is the case, maybe you will debit your um, compensation receivable and credit the compensation income. So you recognize the assets, and that is not going to be disclosed as a contingent asset. However, if let's say the inflow of economic benefit is not probable. Not probable here is where the chances are less than 50%, but more than 5%. So if that is the case, you do not need to even recognize or an asset, of course. You don't have to disclose the contingent asset. What you need to do is just do nothing. Do not do any accounting treatment. Do not disclose them in the account. Just ignore the event. Do not mention that. You just keep that as your record in the file, but you do not need to do any accounting treatment for that. So that was the situation where you recognize contingent asset or the guideline that whether should you do accounting treatment for contingent asset. The next one. So these are the summary of the accounting treatment for the contingent asset and contingent liability. So if you look at the first row, that one is where you recognize as just the normal liability and asset. When it is more than 95% virtually certain for an inflow of economic benefits, which is related to intangible asset, that is not an intangible contingent asset, that is an asset. Whereas for outflow of economic benefits, that will be recognized as a provision. And you can see that this probable. So for the contingent asset, 50% to 95%, that will be disclosed as contingent asset. However, for the case of provision, if you have a probable outflow, that is to be recognized as a provision if the two other criteria are met. The two other criteria are reliable estimates as well as the present obligation as a result of past event. However, if let's say the outcome is just a possible outcome, when we talk about possible outcome, that is more than 5% but less than 50%. Or another word for possible here is we can also use the word not probable. Not probable. If it's not probable that it will be disclosed as a contingent liability for the case of outflow of economic benefits, which is associated with the recognition criteria for provision. And if it's related to the contingent asset, that is going to be no accounting treatment. The last one, if you have a remote chance, which is less than 5%, that the outcome or the probability or the chance of occurrence is 5%. So it's a very low percentage, a slight percentage, which is very insignificant. And that likelihood is called remote. So when that is the case, there is no accounting treatment. So when I say no accounting treatment means we do not need to do any journal entry, as well as there is no disclosure as well. No accounting treatment. No accounting treatment means no adjustment to the financial statement, and also no disclosure notes. So that is the same for both inflow of economic benefits and outflow of economic benefits. So that sum up what we have in our accounting treatment for the three main section of this MFRS. Now we move on to look at the example of contingent assets. So the first example is about Synergy Resources that finalized their account on 31st of December 20x8. And this is the reporting date. What happened? This is the past event, the one highlighted in red. Company sued its main supplier, that's a past event, and they are asking for a damage claim since they were supplied with unreliable material, which has halted the production. They asked for a claim of 1.5 million. 1.5 million is a estimate. It's an estimate that they made. So it's going to be a reliable estimate if the lawyer or the lawyers were the opinion that it will be highly probable, right? Or it is going to be probable. So in our case here, the judgment that was given in favor of Synergy. So meaning that the inflow of economic benefit is now probable because the company's lawyer said that it is highly probable. So when it was highly probable that the company would receive the compensation. So the compensation received is what we considered as inflow of economic benefits. Right. So because the economic benefits are probable, we are not going to recognize an asset here. But what we will do is we are going to disclose a contingent asset because you are asked to advise the management on the accounting treatment. So let's see the proper answer. So you will first start by relating to the definition. So relate to the definition that there is a possible asset arising from past event, and that was due to the legal suit that we made against our supplier, requesting for compensation to be paid. So compensation to be paid will likely be our inflow of economic benefit if it is probable. So inflow of economic benefit is probable. So if it's probable means the contingent asset should be disclosed. Why? Because the lawyer was were at the opinion that the company will be able to get what they claim. It is highly probable. So for them to get 1.5 million, as the judgment is given in favor of the entity. So meaning that that is more than 50% chance. So for inflow of economic benefit, if you have a chance of more than 50% or a likelihood is more than 50% the occurrence of the event, but you have no control of that event, so that will be disclosed as I said earlier, disclosure only. So disclose a contingent asset. Why? Because the that is not within the control of the entity. So therefore, a contingent asset should be disclosed. Where? In the notes to the account at the end of the reporting period. Now we look at the example 9, where the facts are the same as in example 8. Everything is the same. Only now that the lawyer is virtually certain. Before this, it was probable, right? So when it was probable, it was disclosed as a contingent asset. But this time around, the court judgment is ordering the comparator to pay the damages claim of our company. So if that was the case, it is virtually certain that you will be getting the inflow of economic benefits. So if that is the case, let's look at what are the appropriate accounting treatment. So the company shall not recognize a contingent asset here because the inflow of economic benefit is virtually certain, but it will be recognized as an asset. So you can debit. They ask for damage, so debit damage, right? Which is going to be damage income here, because you are going to receive damage income receivable. Yeah, you have not received, but you earn it, and you will credit the asset. You will do debit the asset, and you will credit the income, damage income, and there is an increase in asset then, and that was 1.5 million, the compensation or damage income, and that will be recorded in the books of synergy. Why that is not, as it is not probable, that will remove the contingency. Why not probable? That is virtually certain. And the contingent asset is also not disclosed. Yeah, contingent asset is not disclosed. So let's look at the changes in provision now. So we have completed the contingent asset, contingent liabilities, and the provision. Now let's look if provision could be changed. So according to MFRS 137, provision must always be reviewed from time to time, or normally at each reporting date, and that should also be adjusted so that we would reflect the best estimate. Right? Maybe now it's 60%, maybe in the future it increased to 70% or 80% chances. Or maybe if the provision is no longer required as it is not probable. At first you thought it's 60% chances, but later you notice that chances will need to be reduced to just 40%, which is not probable, right? So if that is the case, that amount of provision must be reversed, and that will have maybe to be recorded as a contingent liability. So that will have to be reviewed from time to time to reflect the best estimate. So these are the summary of the disclosure for contingent asset, contingent liabilities, and the provision. This first section is for provision. You can go and check the MFRS itself. These are the things that you need to disclose in the movement of provision. What are the nature, any expected reimbursement that you will receive maybe from the insurance company, any uncertainties and any major assumptions that you made, as well as the timing of the outflow. For contingent liability, what are the nature and what are the estimate of the financial effect if that is determinable or practicable to determine, or maybe any indication of a further uncertainties. Contingent asset, also you need to disclose the nature of the contingent asset and the estimates of the financial assets, financial effects, if that is practicable. You also need to mention or make a note that the information or certain information may not be disclosed because it is not practicable to do so. And that fact that you cannot disclose because of impracticability will also needs to be disclosed. And the next or the last section of this coverage of MFRS 137 is talking about the Malaysian private entities reporting standards, where for public company in Malaysia, they are required to follow the MFRS 137. However, for those private entities, right, they have option to either follow the MPERS, which is equivalent to IFRS for SME, or they can also opt for the MFRS. So if they follow Malaysian Private Entities Reporting Standard, that is under section 21, which is the one under IFRS for SME, which are issued by the International Accounting Standard Board, right? So this in Malaysia, that IFRS for SME is named or renamed as MPERS, and it is the section 21 applies to all provision relating to liabilities that has uncertain timing or amount. This is for small, medium enterprise, or in Malaysia, these are more for the private entities, right? Companies that are private limited company. And that's it for our lecture on MFRS 137. We have completed the lecture, and now what you can do is revise and try and attempt questions to make sure that you can apply the principle of this standard in question during session. With that, I thank you for your attention and thank you for watching the videos. I'll see you when I will see you.